A warm welcome to the fourth film in our Fitting Out Walls series. In it, we take a look at the different types of door frames you'll come across. Door frames differ from one another in terms of the way in which they connect to the wall opening. Double-sided frames wrap around the entire wall opening on three sides in a U-shape. They cover up irregularities and tolerances in the wall surface in the area around the opening. As double-sided frames are larger than the opening they surround, they comprise several components that can be fitted separately into the opening. Most doors are constructed using double-sided frames. Due to their U-shaped design, they require little construction space within the wall opening. The difference between the clear width of the wall opening and the clear width of the door opening is only 5 to 6 centimeters. As you can see, however, the rough opening for a door must always be designed larger than the finished clearance dimensions. Single-sided frames are fixed to one side of a wall opening only. Seen facing the door from the outside, they surround the front edge of the wall but cover only part of the door reveal. Single-sided frames offer an inexpensive option because the edge that is not covered requires no particular treatment but is still robust enough to deal with mechanical loads. As with a double-sided frame, the single-sided frame takes up relatively little construction space, and the clear width of the door is again only some 5 to 6 centimeters less than the rough opening. A block frame is a door frame that's fitted in the opening and sits flush with the wall surface on both sides. This flush finish gives block door frames a very elegant look. They are, however, more difficult to fit than double-sided frames because the edge where the wall meets the rebate in the opening has to be finished with great precision. It's also difficult to compensate for tolerances in the rough opening. Because the frame sits entirely within the opening, it reduces the rough opening, producing a significantly narrower clear width. Here, the difference between the dimensions of the rough opening and final doorway is at least 12 centimeters for steel frames and at least 14 centimeters for wooden frames. Where a clear width of 90 centimeters is required, the standard for emergency exits, for example, a rough opening of 1.01 meters is too small to take a block frame. An inset block frame also sits inside the opening rather than wrapping round it. It differs from the block frame in that, instead of covering the full depth of the wall, it leaves parts of the reveal exposed. These exposed sections then have to be treated in the same way as the wall surface. As with single-sided frames, they are relatively simple in terms of door design. The difference between the width of the rough opening and the clear width of the door is similar to that for a block frame, that is to say roughly 12 centimeters. The different construction depths of the various different door frames mean that the type of frame must be chosen early on in the design process to ensure that rough openings are made the right size. Summary: door frames differ from one another in terms of the way in which they connect to the wall opening. There are double-side frames, single-sided frames, block frames, and inset block frames. Double-sided frames wrap around the entire wall opening on three sides in a U-shape. Single-sided frames are fixed to one side of a wall opening only. A block frame is fitted in the opening and sits flush with the wall surface on both sides. An inset block frame also sits inside the opening rather than wrapping around it, but unlike the block frame, it does not cover the full depth of the wall. When deciding which type of door frame to use, it's important to take into account the construction depth to ensure that the rough openings are made the right size. Why not take a look at the fifth film in our Fitting Out Walls series? In it, we explain how cabling and pipework are installed in walls.